Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda here from Visualized NZ. It's Trashcraft Tuesday time, and today we're going to be using old envelopes. And this is a project I dreamed up overnight when I was, trying to drift off to sleep. My brain gets ticking, and I thought I wanted to do something with envelopes. And I was like, what can I do that's a little bit different or fun or experimental? I don't know. Anyway, my brain led me in this direction. So I've done up a prototype because I felt I needed to play to see how it was going to work, and made up this little panel here, and it's made out of an old envelope. It's a window envelope, so I don't know if you can see the plastic from the window. And I was actually going to glue this on as a pocket, and then as I was gluing, I just ended up gluing the whole thing, so it is completely stuck down there. So you could certainly glue it down as a tuck or a pocket, or you could actually just back it and use it as a journal card as well, or whatever you like. There's options, but let's get into how I made it. I've glued it on a paper bag which I've made out of one of my digitals. That video actually goes up on Wednesday, so I make these bags in the video that you'll see after this video. The benefits of recording ahead is, or the hitches, I guess, is that, sometimes things are a little bit out of order, but that's okay, because I've had to film ahead because I am out a couple of days, well, out a day. Wednesday I'm out, and Tuesday, Trashcraft Tuesday day, I am home, but my mum's coming to see me because it's my birthday. So I wanted to be free and not have to sort of try and schedule a video around visitors and that sort of thing. So all I'm doing at the moment is I'm just opening out the envelope like so. So just with a craft knife, and I'm also going to run it down this seam here. So just keeping it flat and keeping your knife flat if you're doing it with a knife, and running it along does a pretty good job of cutting it nicely. Okay, and I don't know why I put my knife away. Okay, so this bit going to, well, we're not discarding actually, we need it, but hold the fort. Right, so take a measurement from the edge of your window to the smallest dimension. And for these envelopes here, that's 2 centimeters between the two smallest edges. So I want to take that and I want to line up the edge of my window and then cut it at 2 centimeters. So I want to effectively end up with a border right round the window that's the same dimensions on each side, in my case being 2 centimeters. So whatever envelope you're using, take a measurement and cut it to size. So that side, so I'm lining up the inside, actually this inside, with the lines on my grid, and then because my cutting mat's in centimeters, I'm just going out 2 centimeters and trimming. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys, just close enough is good enough. See, there we go, we have an approximate even Stevens right around. Okay, so now I'm going to take this back piece. I don't think this other bit's big enough. Oh, actually it is. Okay. So we're just going to... okay. That's the problem. We don't want this showing up through the windows, so I am going to use this back piece. And I want to cut it smaller. In our front panel. Oh, I've got an itchy nose. So not too much smaller, just, a few millimeters on each side smaller. Concentrating, can you tell? So I hope you're all having a lovely week so far. I know it is really only just begun. So I am recording this on Monday, which is the birthday eve, I guess you could say. So that's pretty exciting. My husband's been treating me with a little present every day, so he just comes out, makes me close my eyes, hold out my hands, and then he puts something in my hands. And this morning's gift was a packet of sugar-free peppermints. So that was yummy, so I ripped right into that and popped one in my mouth and then gave him one. So that was a lovely treat. Okay, so that fits nicely on the back, so I just want to make sure that it's not going to stick out past. I mean, if it does, you can trim it off, but I just want to make sure it's inside that frame. So here, I don't want just the plain background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stencil it with some various shrubbery, I guess you could say. So I've got the stencil here, and I'm going to start off with shabby shutters. So I'm going for greens, and I'm starting with my lightest green. Whoops, that wasn't a very good place to put that because I can't reach it. Going to end up with ink all over my mat, so it didn't want to sit upright. So I'm going to layer up with the stenciling. Now, if you don't want to stencil, or if you don't have a suitable stencil, or you don't have the different inks available, you could collage, you could put a bit of scrapbook paper in behind. Just use your imagination. There's lots of different things you could do just to take away from the white if you don't like the white. Right, so I'm going to turn my stencil around so I get the plant facing the other direction. And I'm going to shift it down so it's not the same height as the first one. And where it overlaps with the first one I stenciled, I'm just gonna do it. Oops, that stencil's a bit damaged there. And now it's come off. So let's just get rid of that little bit of plastic. That's the thing with stencils, is those little bits can break off over time, particularly if you're not gentle with it. And I'm not being really gentle. Okay, so we've got a couple of that. Now I'm going to go in a different, I didn't use this on the other one, but I'm going to try this one, Vivid Chartreuse. And I'm going to choose a different plant. This leafy one down the bottom here. The big leaves, perhaps is a better English word to use, don't you think? If I speak properly. Just building up. And again, I'm going to flip it over so that it gets a slightly different angle. And just building up the different values of green is going to build dimension and depth. Okay, need something up here, so let's go to my darker green. I might be a bit dark. It's the library green, or perhaps we want to go, where is it? This wee one, the tropical green. We'll go this one. It's not as dark. And what foliage would I like to use this time? Maybe this one here. A bit of grassy sort of stuff at the bottom there. How's that looking? Yep, and put some down over here as well. Here we go. So quick, relatively quick and easy to do. I'm just going to pull my sleeves up. It's quite warm this afternoon. Hubby is actually homesick, so he's gone for a nap. I think he'll be back at work tomorrow though. Okay, now I'm just going to test and put my window over top and make sure I've got everywhere that I want. And yes, that's looking good. Okay, the next thing I do is, because I want to kind of frame it out a little bit, dirty it up a little bit, and it also helps take away some of that white. So I'm going to kind of go around where I think the frame is, and it's a bit of a guessing game. So I think roughly that's where the frame's going to be. Put our little thing over top, line it up, and okay, we can put a bit more up the top there. And yes, I'm happy with that. Cool. So that's the background done. Now it's time to work on this. So I want to edge this all the way around, rubbing it with the, so I'm using Vintage Photo here. I don't want to colour the whole thing. I want to leave some of the white so it gives it a contrast. But I want this to be sort of blended out, I guess, so that it's not even. Don't want it completely even, because it does, then it looks too regimented. I want it more organic looking. So that, and then I'm going to go around again and hit those edges and make the edges darker. And you can do this again afterwards as well. If you're not happy with how dark it's turning out, you can go again once it's all together and do a little tweaking. Okay, constantly fighting those sponge crumbs. Just going to take care of my nose for a moment. Just excuse me, please. Okay. And we need a flower, or I mean, you don't need to use a flower, you could use anything. So these flowers here, hopefully you can see that okay. This is an illustration from a book called Portrait of a Garden. It's a New Zealand book. And this was a black and white illustration. So I just went in with a little sponge and my ink and just dabbed it around. So it's very loosely coloured, and I did yellow on the petals, orange in the centres, and then this green on the stem. And there's a bit of white in there I didn't bother cutting out, which is fine. I could hit a little bit actually with this ink just to kind of sink it into that background a little bit more. This flower is out of the same book, but this one was coloured already. So it's got a very loose, almost like I've done with that, almost like somebody's just gone and sort of wiped ink over it. So it's a very loose, sketchy style, which is quite pretty. So whether you use a flower or something, I think a flower is quite pretty, and if you use foliage in the background, then, you know, it makes sense. So what we're going to do is work out where we want it, and then we're going to tear this plastic window, or sort of waxy, papery, yeah, it's probably actually waxed paper more than plastic, I don't know, I never really thought about it, not sure. Anyway, this window we're going to tear. So I'm thinking I want the flower poking out on this side. On this one I had the flowers poking out this side. Before we do that, I am going to add some stamping detail. I almost forgot. And I've got this cool little kind of mesh stamp from close to my heart. It's Paper Garden, and this like chain link we stamp, and I thought that looks really nice around the outside, so I'm going to do that in coffee first, and just quite lightly. And to avoid getting a square edge, I'm actually putting the square edge off the sides. And it's hopefully giving it a little bit more organic sort of look to it. Here we go, that'll be enough. I really like that stamp. I'd actually like a big one. I think a big one would be awesome. Right, now to do our tearing, where have my scissors? Here they are. You could use scissors, you could use just a needle, anything sharp, and I'm just going to go, whoops, that didn't work, poke. Okay, now you could cut it, but I want a more organic tear, something that's not like straight lines. It does tear a little bit funny on certain directions. So I'm just going to tear wherever I think I want, and then I'm going to tear it down the side very carefully, because you don't want to damage your edge of your window too much. Now how's that? Just going to line it up and see how we're going here. So your petals are going to be breaking out the side, like the flower's grown too big and it's just not going to be contained anymore. And then once you've got it where you want it, I'm just going to fold it up, kind of crease it up like it's all found there. Right, now I'm going to dirty, yes, I'm going to dirty up the window a little bit with my ink, including our little scrunched up bit at the bottom and a little bit along this edge where we tore it. Right, now comes the gluing time, and the gluing is perhaps the trickiest part. So first off, I'm going to sit everything where I want it, including the flower with the parts poking out that I want to have poking out. I think that's looking pretty good. Right, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue under those petals and glue them in place on top there. And then I'm going to slide my nozzle in and glue down that area, just that corner. Now I'm going to come in under here and get in. Now you could, do it whichever way is easiest for you. I find this is the best way to avoid it moving on me. Oops. I'm getting glue on the window there. Let's just get rid of that. So I've put glue under the flower to stick it to the background, and now I can go in and hit the rest of these edges. So this is a perfect activity for those window envelopes where the window itself might be damaged. It got tore during opening or something of that sort. So totally usable. I do love the fine glue tips for getting into those little crevices. And then we're going to take some glue and pop it in under there and a little bit under there, just to glue it all down. Oops, got another bit there. Gluing in between all the sort of folds, just so it stays where it needs to be. And because it's a plasticky type material, I find just holding it down while that glue dries is going to give it a better finish. That's going to actually stay where you want it. Okay, so just giving it a moment there to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an even darker edge, I think. I think it's so pretty. I'm really happy with how they're turning out. Now the final touch is I like to add a little label. No, not surprising, is it? So I'm using labels here from the Junk Journal Studio. I'll link the kit in the description box. And I've got just the smallest ones. Like the kit has the same labels. There's hundreds of them, hundreds of different labels in different sizes. So I've just got the smallest ones in this container because they were a bit too little for my normal folio that I keep labels in. So I'm just looking for what I might like. Just a little something. Put a little... Oh, I've got an umbrella in there. And a little bit of paper. Just playing with options. See which one I like better. I think I like that because it's got the dark border. If I use two, then I like the dark border. Oh, I like that one. Okay, so let's just give them a little snip of, I don't know, why am I using the word snip? Little touch of ink around the edges. Snip did not make sense in that context. Weird. I don't know where that came from. Oh, I don't want the tacky glue, I want the glue stick. What am I doing? My brain's gone to sleep, people. Must be going out in sympathy with my hubby. Oh, or maybe it's just the fact that I'm getting older. You know, tomorrow, overnight, I'm going to turn a whole year older. Isn't it funny? You know, it's like we've turned a whole year older, and all we've done is we've turned another day older. Because we've been turning a year older for a whole 365 days. Oh, do I want... Actually, I might want that on the corner. So this one I used just one label. This one I've used a couple. And so that could easily, again, be like a little pocket on the front there. Oh, I was going to say, why did my phone do that? Because I've put it on Do Not Disturb. That was my husband's phone, because he left it on his chair right beside me, and normally he would have it at work with him. So got, again, these are things that you'll see in tomorrow's video. That's not going to work. I mean, the color's not right, but even that, this is a tall pocket with a tag in it. You could make that another pocket up here as well, or just decoration, but it does show off the colours well. Like, I feel like you can see it really well on that, whereas this does blend in quite a bit, which I also like, but for the purpose of you seeing what I've done, I think that shows it really well. So there's my idea, using old window envelopes, distressing it up a bit, adding some stamping, some stenciling, or doing some collage if you don't want to do the inking, and creating yourself this cool little window effect with something breaking out of it. Now that would also look cool with a car coming out of it, or a motorbike or something, if you're doing a guy's journal, or a butterfly flying out of the window, or a bird, just so many things that you could have coming out of that window. Now, if you don't like the window popping up, if you want it to be a bit flatter, just go in with a glue that dries clear. So I'm just going to go in here with my tacky glue, and it will dry clear and won't be visible. Now, it has made it go a bit wrinkly, but that's fine. It's just going to look more distressed, isn't it? So I don't mind the wrinkles at all. I also went in over here and put a little glue in behind that. I'm actually going to darken that up a bit more. I didn't have much ink on my sponge when I did that one. So the idea of inking the plastic too is to make the bits that are popping out a bit brighter than the bits that are behind the window. But you certainly could leave the window undistressed if you prefer. So there we go. I'll give you a closer look at those. I hope you enjoyed this project, and we'll give it a go. Let me know if you do. I'd love to see. You can always tag me on Instagram, VisualizeDNZ, or you can use the hashtag TrashCraftTuesday, and I will see it. Or you can pop into Visual Vibes on Facebook and pop a picture up on there. I'd love to welcome you there. Please do consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, for more fun Trashcraft Tuesday projects. Also have Deal It Up Challenge on Monday, and I'm currently now on 4 design teams. Would you believe that? 4 design teams, so lots of design team stuff coming up as well. But for today, that's it. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you back soon. Bye.